So, about The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley, oh plenty, oh valley, oh plenty, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, a friend to humanity. The Witcher 3. Game of the Year in 2015 and recipient of over 200 game awards, so I'm told. I think it's a strange series that I never got into until this game, and even then I was late to the party as I didn't show up until about 2017. 2 years after it came out, and I had to YouTube stuff concerning the first two games when I first got this one because I knew nothing about the universe that Andrzej Sapkowski, sorry if I butchered that, and by extension CD Projekt Red was trying to build. So I'm into it, and I'm feeling it, but it's really off compared to other fantasy games. Just weird in a weird way I can't really explain very well. Mechanically, it's well designed and I don't find too much fault to it, but you are limited to Geralt's melee combat and isn't too diverse outside of just a weak crossbow that you use for knocking things out the sky and not much else other than his 5 signs, Axii, Igni, Ard, Yrden, and Quen, which is Jedi Mind Trick from Star Wars, Light Shit on Fire, use Force Push from Star Wars, slow stuff down within a circle he makes, and make a shield for himself respectively. And frankly, I feel like a man can take over the world with Jedi Mind Trick Axii, all by itself, but that's besides the point. I'm going to be switching gears a lot during this video, so that's just a forewarning. I couldn't find a lot of what I would consider to be must-have footage in this game, so I'm kind of all over the place with it. None of the fights or scenes are super noteworthy, but that doesn't necessarily take away from the overall quality of the game. This cutscene especially. This kind of thing seems like it takes a lot of work to put together, and it shows. Even the side quests feel like mini-movies all on their own. Also, the way Geralt handles each of those situations, regardless of the player's decisions in the dialogue trees, always makes it seem like he's doing the right thing, even when the potential decisions are opposite and run counter to each other. I think the writing's pretty well done in that regard as well, so let's dive in and talk about a few things. So, again, the combat, it's simple with light and heavy attacks and also the signs that give you the edge in those oh-so-frequent moments where you're outnumbered. The real depth to all this, though, actually comes from the skill trees that you upgrade throughout his adventure, just like any other RPG. So really, it's just unlocking a few tricks for his light attacks, and a few new tricks for his heavy attacks. There's also the option to upgrade his signs to what they probably should have been the whole time, considering Geralt is like 97 years old, and this is his third outing in a series of video games, but I digress. There are a few moments where you're not fighting 100% alone, but it's almost always with one of the witches in the Coven that are 10s, and most certainly Victoria's Secret models, every one of them. And Geralt seems to have slept with every single one of them at least once, and the others in the Coven are either ignorant to that or don't care. I don't particularly understand how witches are both sterilized and stripped of their emotions during the initial mutations process, yet are still compelled to have tons, and tons, of sex. It's absurd and a little awkward, but I personally don't feel super compelled to help Geralt get his rocks off, no pun intended, during this golem fight, when presented with a dialogue tree that will certainly help him do that. Sorry about that mini rant, but now's a good time as any to start talking about it. Anyways, there are multiple options for dodging attacks, and it feels a bit unnecessary considering games generally only have one, but a slight dodge and full-on roll is available, as well as blocks and a parry if the blocks time properly. Although a fully upgraded Quen that includes knockback and health regen is by far the best defensive option in the game. But most of this video I started a new game for, not New Game Plus, and that's important. I want to talk about that, actually, and as I always do, I have to talk about a few qualms that I have, as what would one of my videos be without pointing out a bunch of stuff that really grinds my gears. Starting with New Game Plus having to be independently downloaded instead of patched in an update, and I've never heard of anything like that before in my life, and the other being the staggering difficulty and pointlessness of New Game Plus as a whole. So with the New Game Plus situation already starting out on the wrong foot, the issues I have with it extend beyond simply having to download it separately. So I'll start by saying that this footage is of a New Game Plus after my very first playthrough, by the way, so I don't understand why my previously end-of-game armor can no longer contend with the most basic of beginning-of-game drowners. I understand the level scaling is to keep the game challenging, but they should have structured it like Dark Souls, where enemies get more HP and the game becomes more organically challenging, and you get to feel like a god if you play your cards right. But they did it their own way, where the purpose is completely defeated by the fact that I might as well start a regular new game instead of a New Game Plus. So in a regular circumstance, I would absolutely thrash 3 or 4 drowners, no problem. but in New Game Plus, I have to fight arguably harder than if I had started a new game and freshly stepped out of Kaer Morhen with my default starting gear. Keep in mind that this game does have difficulty settings, but that doesn't change any of what I'm saying here. I have all the signs upgraded, but none are very effective in New Game Plus other than Quen, the best defense in the game. However, in the base game, that upgrade actually matters, as the shield can take a couple of hits before it breaks and makes you reset, but here, it is much, much more fragile, and that simply shouldn't happen, regardless. I also feel that the upgraded Axii is very useful anywhere, but first of all, I straight up forgot to use it, and second, it takes a moment to cast, and all I'm worried about is not dying in one hit by what is essentially the weakest enemy type in the game, save for rats or wild dogs / wolves. Igni officially takes too long to set folks on fire at this point, and the damage output by what they have is greatly exaggerated as it is. It's just not going to work out. And Ard and Yrden have not only never been my style, but seem to have a little to no use in an environment where Geralt might as well be a 3-year-old girl instead of a seasoned beast slayer who's been getting it in since Nam. Also, I don't know how common it is, or if it's common or not as a Witcher 3 player in general, but I also never use blade oils, and I don't go ham on alchemy and potions that help him fight better either. So I guess it's just not the way I play, and I guess it's probably going to make my life more difficult, but I'm stubborn, I suppose, so whatever. And I wish he can dual wield those swords every so often. That would mix up the gameplay a little bit, but even though I never read the books, I assume it's because he never does that in the books that the game's based off. And back on topic though, you've been watching me struggle against a couple of drowners for a while, and that doesn't even compare to a quest that I got completely walled by, and it turned me all the way off of this game, like all the way off. And that's unfortunate because it's just a regular fight that you have to do somewhere randomly in the middle of the game. It's a side quest, not a main quest, and you have to fight some fogger that's in a cave somewhere. And I'd imagine it's not supposed to be by design the strongest monster Geralt has ever faced in his career period, bar none, but it ends up being exactly that, at least on New Game Plus, because I don't recall this being so difficult in any of my first playthrough. So as a general rule of thumb that is a hallmark of good game design, there should never be any enemy in any game that could take you from full health to 0 in any game, unless that's just the kind of game it is, or unless it's the biggest telegraph move in gaming history. But just watch this real quick. Bastard killed me so quick with the most limp-wristed slap I didn't even have a chance to fall down, just sheathed my blade and gave up. But I gotta change gears again and talk about the big bad of this game, the Wild Hunt. I can't say I understand anything about them, which sucks because this game's subtitle is named after them, and I feel like by the time the game's over, I should have a deeper understanding than what was given, but I get it. I know the real reason for them is to hunt for slaves from other worlds than the one that they're from or something like that, and then they catch wind of Ciri somewhere along the line, and something about her elder blood and ability to open portals and all kinds of other nonsense plays into the story, and I don't have a clear idea of what's going on. But I know that Bowser always wants to capture Princess Peach, and Mario has to save her for the game to happen. Pretty simple stuff there, actually. But I did want to have at least one example of a battle with them, as it was taking too long to get the battle at the end of the game over with and get that one on screen, and I kind of wanted to get this done finally. Anyways, I don't know where the Wild Hunt hounds come from either, probably the other elf world that they're from, but they seem to have a bottomless supply of them, so this fight is partially about fighting them and partially about fighting, the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings. I don't know why Lambert couldn't be here to help. I bet he'd be pretty useful. I noticed there's a shocking lack of interaction between Geralt and any of the other Witchers, other than Vesemir. If they were in groups of 2 or more, I bet you that it would greatly reduce the mortality rate of Witchers in general, but that would be too fun, so we wouldn't want that. Anyways, I think they really missed the chance to give Geralt a sign that simply heals or leeches health from foes. I know Quen gives you health when people hit your shield at later levels, but this would be something entirely different and available from the start of the game and then upgradable from there. But
if ifs and buts was candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Or something like that. But this game doesn't really have a lot of what would be considered a formal boss fight. It's very strange in the regard that when you're facing a tough enemy, it feels like one, but they aren't really set up with a cutscene or theatrics like they would be in other games. Even the regular enemy encounters are pretty sudden, especially when you're in a dialogue tree with what has the potential to be an enemy, but is a human, and you choose to threaten them instead of axie them if you don't have the right axie level or pay them, then the camera just kind of juts out and boom, you're fighting them now. Most likely to the death, and it will probably end with you decapitating them. Pretty brutal stuff, honestly. But that's what makes the game so engrossing and win so many awards, apparently. It's got to be doing something right if whoever's giving out this truckload of mystery awards is so impressed by the way that it all works out, but the focus on storytelling and excellent voice acting doesn't already give away that this is based on a book. The narrative structure that each side quest features probably will. I'm not saying that the story of Cyberpunk is terrible or anything, but there is a noticeable dip in quality from this game to Cyberpunk that it's a bit hard to believe that the same studio developed both games. Another topic change though, I like how there were moments where they let you play as Ciri, not a scared, frightened little girl, but a strong and capable grown woman who gets the job done more efficiently than Geralt himself during the times you get to play as her. It's never much, just some grunts, maybe a wolf here and there, the odd out werewolf, a quick horse race, etc. But still enjoyable, and would be really nice if there were more of these moments, or the ability to switch to either her on the fly or have a separate story where she gets her own skill tree. Just wanted to touch base on that and use it as a segue to talk about all the strange moments that happen in the game though. I'll only talk about a few examples though rather than get too deep into it. There's one instance where you're being slowly escorted in an ice shield bubble to protect you from the environment outside of it while Keira Metz closes portals and you protect her from the Wild Hunt Hounds. It's quite a literal change of pace from sprinting through every room and every battle like one tends to do, and gives the feeling like there are things at stake and feels like it's leading up to a climax, even though this is relatively early in the game, and when you part ways with her, another side quest opens up involving this witch, in case you are so inclined to spend more time with her, wink wink, if you know what I mean. But no, that quest might involve Geralt hopping back into the sack, but it's also another fully fleshed out quest line that, depending on your decisions, and spoiler alert, could end up with Keira's head rolling on the ground when it's done. There's another weird one where you have to go to a masquerade party with another one of Geralt's lovers and confidants, Triss, which to me has nothing to do with anything and is largely a waste of time and just a non-exciting way to further build his relationship with her, which is still better than the time you have to get the Peller's goat, Princess, and escort her through the woods with a tiny bell. This is the most annoying and pointless things of all, probably. Whoever designed this as not only a quest in this game, but an actual main story quest, most likely is no longer employed at CG Projekt Red, and at some point, the stupid goat fully ignores the bell and runs next to a bear just to give you an excuse to fight it. What kind of bull-ish is that? I can imagine what the pitch meeting for this quest was.
So, do you have a game quest for me? Yes, sir, I do. I was thinking we could have our main hero, the Witcher Geralt of Rivia, escort a goat. Why? Because that works, but it's not very exciting. How can we, spice this up? We'll just have it run over by a bear for no reason. Oh, running over by bears is tight. You know it. I bet it's going to be hard to, just get away from a bear you just ran up to. Actually, it's going to be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Oh, really? Yeah, you could just be like a crazy person running through the woods after another man's goat to go slay the bear while the goat just lays there waiting for you. Why would the goat lay there or go there in the first place? Sir, I'm going to need you to get all the way off my back about why the goat is suddenly suicidal. Oh, let me get off of that thing.
Etc, etc. So I'm gonna get all the way off your back about the whole goat quest line, but I just needed a rant about it because it aggravated me and I hate it so much and I don't think that it should be in the game at all, so I'll just end it there. So another thing I wanted to talk about is the strangeness of some of the quests that are in here that involve some of the ugly things that are in this game. There's so many things in this game that I don't know if they purposely designed it to be ugly or if it was an accident or what the case is. This whole botchling thing is messed up. I really feel like there were better things that you can come up with as either a writer or a game developer or whoever came up with this idea than like an aborted fetus monster. There are better things. You're not Matt Stone and Trey Parker. You can do better, and I just feel like this was something that they could have just kind of left alone. But either way, I'm going to use this as something that I can segue to get to just the ugliness of some of the stuff and go over all of the ugliness. And this is just going to be kind of a montage of ugly here. So prepare yourself a little bit for what's to come. But yeah, I just feel like the world of what is potentially something that you can put into a video game using your imagination in your mind of what you can come up with for a fictional monster is limitless. You can come up with anything, and you can just make an amalgamation of something if you want to go all Cronenberg and just come up with just whatever you can think of. If you want it to be a giant spider fused together with a rhinoceros that has the tail of a scorpion or something like that, and just have that be a monster, go for it. That's better and probably has a more interesting backstory than a botchling has, honestly. So I guess we'll move on and just go with Johnny. Here's Johnny. Johnny is another example of a character who is just so ugly, but at least in this instance, the Godling is a good guy character. So I'm going to spend the next lot of time talking about these hags and just gawking at them. So here we go. Oh my god. Oh, look at that eye. Look at that. Oh my god. That is just so bad. I don't understand. Ugh. 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 The basket for the face. The nipple maybe out. Maybe. I'm not really sure. Ugh. Oh. Just, oh, why did they design that way? I don't understand. And ugh.
Stop it. Get some help.
Okay, so the next order of business and things that I wanted to go over here is the beauty of this game. This is just a good looking game. Now I know as of this recording it's 2021 and this game came out in 2015, so it's not like it was ages ago. But for consoles, and I'm not a PC player, and it probably looks a lot better on PC, this is a very good looking game. There's a little bit of a weird thing going on with scale. I feel like everything's kind of, I don't know, tiny looking, I want to say? I don't know. Maybe that was on purpose. Maybe that's just me and my imagination. I don't know, but everything just kind of looks like the scale is a little off in the world. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Still a gorgeous game. And then that's something that we've come to expect here. And then outside of that, did you know, and I didn't know this, that the horse has like an auto gallop? So there's like a stamina meter for your horse. So when you try to like double tap A or X or whatever you're playing it on, and you get your horse to actually go faster, that your stamina runs down on your horse, etc., etc., and then whatever happens is what it is. But outside of that, if you just press the joystick in one direction or another, or don't press the joystick rather in any direction or the other, then your horse will just kind of follow the roads automatically, and the stamina meter won't even matter. I noticed the horse like jerking around back and forth, and I was wondering why that happened. So I tested it, just let go of the joystick, and lo and behold, to my surprise, the game's like, screw it, we'll just get you to where you need to go. Don't even worry about it. Just pay a little bit of attention to the screen, just so you can click left and right so it doesn't randomly take some forking paths that you don't want it to take, and you should be good to go. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So we'll switch gears again, talk about a few other things. So there's another kind of disturbing scene where you get Triss, and you're like interrogating a guy, and she uses magical electricity to like grab him by the balls, and she just straight up starts squeezing his balls, and she just says that like the pain is nothing compared to what it could be. And I don't know if she's threatening castration in this instance or what she's doing, but I saw this and I'm like, yeah, you know, this is something that's got to go in my video because it sticks out to me. I start immediately wincing and going, oh no, what would it feel like if magical electricity was gripping my testicles? I don't know what I would feel. So, you know, something that I just kind of had to put in there. I didn't want to kill the guy, but yeah, maybe you should have. If you take his memory away, maybe he'll still remember the pain in his balls. But that's neither here nor there. Switching gears again, we're gonna do some quick hits here. The clown clothes that they make you wear, why does that stuff have better armor values than actually cool stuff? Actual cool stuff you get to wear. Those clown clothes with the stripes, why? It's just padding. And the sailing is good, it's fleshed out. The sailing pretty much to me just kind of says, hey, we need to put water in the game, and we need you to go across the water, but realistically your horse isn't going to get you there, so here's essentially a horse but for water. If you're so inclined to go that route, that's what they're kind of offering here, so that's what we'll go with. The game has some glitches. Here's some glitches. They're not very prominent, I'll be honest. Alright. Okay, and one of the last things that I want to touch on here to kind of start wrapping the video up a little bit is the Witcher sense that they have in this game to kind of make Geralt more of a detective or a good tracker. I'm pretty sure Rocksteady works with WB Games to make the Batman Arkham games, and I know the WB Games is part of CD Projekt Red in making this game. Coincidence? I don't know, but if CD Projekt Red, WB Games, and Rocksteady want to get together and make me a new Batman game with this, this is kind of a cool way to do it. The way that Geralt gets it done compared to Batman is a little bit different, as the way that Geralt likes to do it is after he's like observing a scene and he figures stuff out, he goes back to people and then he talks to them and actually gets like a feel for the situation and what's actually happening, and questions them about it, gets information, gets leads, etc. Where Batman has to kind of figure it all out on his own. He doesn't just go and start talking to people and getting leads. He does it completely this way. But Geralt doesn't have any technology, you see, and Bruce Wayne has a bazillion, crustillion dollars. So when you have a crustillion dollars, which is a number that I just made up just now on the spot, then yeah, you can kind of make it shake when it comes to like detective technology and things you can come up with to see the unseen and whatnot. You can almost just do witchcraft and wizardry using money. I feel like if you're rich enough, you can do just anything you want. You can get access to technologies that don't even exist if you feel like it. So, you know, just wanted to touch base on that because the Witcher sense is a big part of the game, and it seems like either every quest or every other quest, you have to use it for one reason or another. So, you know, that's more or less it on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. My thoughts on it in general are, it's a good game. It's the kind of game that is going to keep you busy for the hours and time that you're playing it. But just like with some of the other videos that I've made here, it's just the replayability is what's killing me. The New Game Plus is what's killing me. I don't have much of an incentive to come back to the game. When I first got the New Game Plus, I was kind of excited to get back into the world and then go in and maybe pick up some of the side quests I didn't do, because I felt like I did as many as I possibly could in my first playthrough, but maybe missed some. And I was like, you know, I'll get back in and I'll do that with like a fully upgraded skill tree and we'll make it shake. And then every enemy in the game starts one-shotting you, and your end-game armor you just beat the final boss with no longer means anything when you face like neckers coming out of the ground. And I'm like, a necker? Really? You know how difficult this Griffin fight is on New Game Plus? It kills you, like instantly, as does like everything else. So it's a rough go, man, and it's not going to be something that I'm going to constantly be coming back to from a replayability perspective. That's sad, that sucks. You know as well as me and anybody else, if you've watched any of my other videos, that replayability, just, that's what I need in a game. I was suggested from a guy at GameStop a long time ago, around in 2017, when I got this game, that, hey, if you didn't play this, this is a must-have. Why haven't you picked this up? When I was like looking for new games to play at the time, and should have. So I'm going to wrap up with Geralt killing guys in a bath towel, and we'll just go from there, I guess. Double whack. There you go. Perfect. Let's wrap it up.
Ooh, follow the baby fetus, ghost creature. If you'd like to subscribe. Maybe along the way we'll get some McDonald's. And we'll leave a comment and a like. And also some... I can't. I'm sorry. Oh, good.
So, in assumption, The Witcher 3. Is it a perfect game? No. But then again, what game is? Not many. At least the only one that I've rated 5 out of 5 on this channel I'm just very, very biased towards. So, this game's got a lot of options as far as what you can do. Okay, you know what? It doesn't have a ton of options. I'll be honest. I'm just trying to give it some credit. But it's deep. It has a rich story, and it has great looking character models. It's a beautiful game. A lot of the monsters in it are really, really ugly and look like butt. And then outside of that, it's, you know, just should scratch that itch for someone who likes an RPG and loves it when there's like a main character that you get to be rather than customizing your own and making your own hero to your story. So that being said, you know, it's a good pickup, and I would definitely give it a shot, and if you haven't already, and go from there. So with that, I'm going to give this game a 3.5 out of 5, much like other games before it. And guys, I'd like to thank you for staying so sexy on the line. You have a good one.